Hi, this is Paulie the Ranger, and we had some fresh snow last night. And what's really cool about fresh snow or deep snow is that you get a neat chance of seeing uh, what was there at those times. So we'll take a little voyage into a few species and hope you have some fun. Right here is a squirrel track. Now, squirrel tracks, you would think, well, here we go, it's aiming this way, that must be the way it's going. Well, if you look at the tracks, the front part of a track of a squirrel has 4 toes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can barely see them. The back track has 5 toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what's going on is it's actually going this way. So it's actually leaping with its back paws and landing right here with its front paws. So we know the squirrel was running pretty much like we see any other squirrel running. And again, you can see those 4 toes more clear here and the 5 toes more clear there. Just a little bit of a sign of a claw, and that's typical too of a squirrel. Now we're going to take a look at another track right next to it, and that is of something very common in our yard, a very large bird here, a turkey. So we know a turkey, as a matter of fact, there were a few turkeys, as you can see here, walking through our yard to basically get some food that was dispersed into our yard. So there's all kinds of turkey tracks out here. Now, another interesting track here is all these little tiny tracks that you see all over. They may appear to be obviously bird tracks, and they are. They come from a bird called a dark-eyed junco. It's a small little bird, but generally pure white underneath and dark above. So you might see them on roadsides. There are usually many of them together. They're very seldom do you see one. There's usually at least 10, if not flocks up to 50 or more. So they loved weed seed and various other like millet, sorghum, things that come with wild bird seed. You know, what's kind of cool is right here we get to see where a junco was going this way. Here's where its claws were going this way, its feet, and what it was doing is it took off in about this direction going this way. And you can tell that by, here's its little wing marks. So its wings went from here, it hopped with its wings, and it's possible it probably landed back here. But for sure, it hopped up with its wings. There's a strike, and there's a strike. So that is pretty cool in and of itself. And over here, I had found some other neat tracks, and here they are. These tracks here are not as big. You can see the turkey track right there. And then over here you see a very different type of track. It's not spread out like the turkey. And you see a trail of it, and it's going that way, but a trail of it going to the feed. Now it splits off, so we know there was probably 2 of these birds. Now that bird will look very much like a same type of thing as a songbird or a passerine as they're called. Very much like you can see the dark-eyed junco. So if this is a songbird, it is massive. And what is the most common songbird that makes this, and it's the second largest songbird in our area, the first being the common raven. But this is from the American crow. And again, this is probably about 2.5 to almost 3 inches long. And they get to be about 17 inches long from the tip of their beak to the end of their tail. And ravens are a whopping 2 feet long. And they're typical in more of your normal northern climates. So that's kind of a neat thing to find when you're looking around. I don't know if you heard that, but that was some juncos themselves flying around. Now, I had made some tracks before to be able to look at some tracks that I found. Now you can see here and there, and I put down a ruler, and it basically was about 9 inches right there. Now that's called the stride, and that stride can determine a lot of animals. Certainly, the bigger the stride, the bigger the animal. And this is pretty even. You can see the stride is about, it's about that same 9 inches all the way along. Now, when you find a good track like this one, you can again see the paw, 4 toes. And what's interesting is you see the paws a bit offset. There was one, there was one. 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 And what that tells us is that the paws are slightly offset, which determines something. It is not a wild animal. Wild animals typically have what's called perfect step. So the steps are pretty much perfect from the hind leg to the front legs and so on, because they want to leave the least amount of a footprint to be found. At least that's one of the theories. And so to determine almost for a fact, oh, and by the way, these are Polly the Ranger's feet. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting track if you're really into that. I hope not. Anyway, here we go for another example of what this animal that was when it came through. Again, we notice this imperfect style, and right there, it's about as clear as it can be. Paw, 4 toes, no claws showing, so we know it's not a fox, it's not a small dog, nothing like that. It is a domestic cat. So a cat came through here during the middle of the night, checking out things like that. So yeah, those are a few of the tracks that I found this morning, and I thought they were really cool to see and kind of decipher and figure out what's going on. So enjoy our great outdoors.